We're just going to give a few minutes for people to join, and then we'll begin. Well, I can't see the chat, but I was going to say that people can write into the chat where they're logging in from. Since I can't see the chat right now because I'm on the presentation, I know that we do have participants from, I think, 5 different countries that will be represented in this webinar, which is pretty cool. And from our speakers, we have 4 countries, I guess, represented between me in the US and Tracey from South Africa, Jonathan's from Israel. So the mixed bag, which is very representative of Lisbon and Portugal today.
For sure.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Paloma. I'm the community manager here at Maven. Today, we're going to walk you through a little bit about Portugal's Golden Visa. We believe it is the strongest visa in Europe. So it's the best pathway to citizenship. And so we're going to tell you a little bit more about that. Tracey Martin's here. She's from EQTY. She's going to present the EQTY's Golden Visa Fund, Global Growth 2. So we're really happy to have her here. Right now, for the Golden Visa, ever since they got rid of real estate as an option for visa eligibility, investment funds have become the most popular route. So that's what's going to be the primary focus of this webinar. We're also joined by Jonathan. He's our CEO here at Maven. Together, we help clients all around the world invest in Portugal, from real estate, Golden Visa funds. We take care of all the application process, the legal process, making sure everything just looks good before, and shortlist a bit of those funds for our clients so they don't have to look through 80 different Golden Visa funds, and it's very difficult to find all that information. So before we get started on talking about Global Growth 2, we're going to talk a little bit more about getting a second residency and a second citizenship, and why people are pursuing these options and why other people should consider this, as well as like Portugal's current boom and really the rise of high net worth individuals and the increasing foreign investment into the country. Maybe a little bit about like the Golden Visa structure and the benefits of the program. I will also tell you a little bit about what makes a Golden Visa fund different from another investment fund, how they work, what they are, and what to look for as an investor. So I'll pass it over to Jonathan to take it away.
Thank you, Paloma. Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan. I'm the CEO of Maven. We are an investment management company focused on real estate in Portugal. The reason that companies like us started to do Golden Visa is, I would say, historical reason, because a decade ago, you could have a Golden Visa by investing in a property, basically buying an apartment or a building. And companies like us used to facilitate this kind of services. Over the years, we grew up, we added a legal team, and here we are today. We have also a branch in our operation that deals with the Golden Visa, although that it's not connected to real estate anymore. Over the years, we met quite a lot of people that decided to do Golden Visas. And there are many different reasons for that, why people decided to do Golden Visas. I would say that when I talk to most of the people, it's usually about, let's call it insurance for life, insurance that I know that if I want to retire in a different place, I can do it. If my kids want to open a business, they can, whatever they want in Europe, they can do it. Or even if my grandchild wants to live somewhere in the European Union, he can do it. So it's basically, I would say, open the possibilities and have some insurance for the future in case something happens. Now, I'm saying that, and I'm being a little bit, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but what we keep on hearing in the last couple of years, that more and more people in wealthy countries as well are feeling that the land is shifting under the feet. They feel that there is big changes, there is political unrest, there are capitals or big cities that are not so safe anymore, and people believe that their country can always, the economy will always perform at its best. Their country always will be on the side of them, support them. And suddenly they think that maybe it's not going to be like that forever. And I would say was a big motivation for people in the last 2 years to get a golden visa, beyond, I would say, the normal or the obvious reasons of lifestyle. Paloma, please, next slide. There are few possibilities in the world how to obtain a golden visa. Mainly, I would say it's Portugal, Greece, and Italy. Those are maybe the biggest candidates. I think that what makes Portugal Golden Visa different is the flexibility. It's a very, very flexible golden visa in the sense that you don't need to live in the state, in the country, to create the pathway for an EU citizenship. So you need to come only about a week every year to Portugal. You can do it over your vacation. And then you start kind of a process of 5 years residency, and then 5 years of permanent residency, and then you can apply for a golden visa. So this is a very, very clear pathway for golden visa, very flexible. That's what I think most people find interesting. Next slide, please. As you can see, last year, about 5,000 families got golden visa in Portugal. Almost 10% of them are from the United States, and a big number also from Britain. So the UK, it's pretty obvious after the Brexit. But the large number of American citizens, in my own personal opinion, and maybe a lot of people will disagree with me, it's the political reason, or I would call it unrest, some feelings that that we need to secure our future, not only in our home country, but also elsewhere. Please, for the next slide. So, as we say, the main reason why people are getting a golden visa, it's a clear pathway to EU citizenship. But there are many other reasons why people are coming to Portugal. First of all, it's a super safe place, and everybody that is here feels it. It's not only about terrorism or things like that. It's also from the criminal level, to walk alone at night, or you feel safe in the street, or it's okay to go with your kid to the park and put your backpack on the bench and not worry about it, that somebody will steal it, or to walk with your iPhone 17 and nobody will take it away from you. So it's very, there is a very safe feeling in Portugal. Of course, the quality of life is very high in Portugal, and it's not only the features that Portugal has naturally, like the ocean, the weather, the food, the wine, and so on. It's a nice place to be. It's a nice place to live. People are smiley. English proficiency is very high. I think number 6 or 7 or 8 in the world. People are very open to foreigners. So, and this is maybe the opposite of the world tendency of being open to minorities. So I would say that there are many other reasons. The other thing that also in our business of investment management, there is the boom of Portugal. Portugal is growing rapidly, growing very well. It's the economy performed very well. So, of course, if you are going to tie your future with the country, let it be a country that performs very well. As we say, political stability is a big thing these days. Please, for the next slide. When I came here about 15 years ago, there were about a little bit more than 300,000 foreigners in Portugal. Now there is 1.6 million, about 15-16% of the population. This is a huge number. Those are not necessarily golden visa people, right? They are just relocation, immigrants, digital nomads. But this is show you the huge boom of Portugal, how it's become a place that attracts people because of whatever reason, because it's nice here, because of the booming economy, and so on. We have buildings in the city that we manage, let's say with 8 apartments, and each apartment it's a tenant with a different nationality. So this is the story these days of Portugal, Lisbon, of course, but also Portugal, of kind of cosmopolitan environment, and also the people of those panel. As you can see, not all from Portugal originally. So this is basically the story of Portugal these days. Next slide, please. A big chunk of those 1.6 million people are high or medium and high economic class. Portugal became a place that attracts wealth migration. It's a small country and it's up there on the top of wealth migration. What can I say? The millionaires know what they are doing. So they have the reason why to come to Portugal. And I think it's a trend that is not going to, it's not only a trend, it's really a thing that is happening, that a lot of capital, a lot of wealth is immigrating to Portugal. Slide, please. So basically, just to wrap this thing, and I would like to give the good people of equity the stage, as I would like to hear them as well. So Golden Visa, basically we are talking about, this is a residency program by investment. You invest 500,000 euros in a fund. The fund is regulated. You have a minimum annual stay of 7 days, very little. It's including all your families, your dependent kids, even your parents, if they are dependent. And you start a clear way to a citizenship of 5 years of residency, and then you change it to 5 years of permanent residency, and then you can apply for the visa. So I will give now the microphone back to Paloma. And thank you very much. I will be here for the questions later, if anybody has.
Thank you, Jonathan. So typically when I am speaking with people who are interested in Golden Visa and I'm explaining the process, the investment, the main questions we do get is, what are these funds? What are we investing in? There's sometimes a bit of like unknown. They were Googling, and there's so many things out there on the internet too, with so many funds. We have a bit like over 80 funds right now. So it can be a bit difficult to kind of narrow down your search of like where you want to invest in. That's where we come in, we shortlist reputable funds that we've worked with, that we know are well managed, that have a strong track record, and this is why we invited equity. But also there is some kind of criteria that these funds do have to meet to be Golden Visa eligible. So it's not just investing in anything that you find. They're all regulated. They have to have at least 60% of that capital into Portugal. Your investment, you have to hold that for 5 years because that's how long it takes to get your permanent residency here. So that's why there's that 5-year requirement due to time that it takes for the application to go through. That's also why a lot of funds do have a minimum of 6 or 7 years. And yes, so when you compare them, you'll find a very large difference in what people are investing in. The main rule is just you cannot invest in real estate. But for the most part, there are a few really strong, good funds, and we're going to hear from one of them right now. So I'll pass the floor over to Tracey.
Thank you, Paloma. Thank you, Jonathan. It's wonderful to be here, and we really appreciate the opportunity to present the EQTY Global Growth 2 Fund to everyone today. I will just pull up the presentation, and then we can go into the details of everything. Let me just get this going. One second. Great. Can you see the presentation? All okay?
Yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, firstly, Jonathan, your intro resonates very much with us in terms of the fact that the Golden Visa is about buying your insurance. We are that's what happened with us personally. So I'm South African, and so is my husband. We were living in Dubai for many years and living there for however long, over 20 years, and not having a passport or anything to show for it. We also obviously struggle with being South African with our South African passports, being able to get access to countries and to be able to travel freely. And we looked at all the different options. We looked at the English-speaking countries. We looked at the US, the UK, Australia, and none of them really resonated with us. And Portugal, in terms of the flexibility and in terms of the lifestyle and everything that you mentioned, was somewhere that really appealed. And it was always a plan B. We never actually imagined that it was going to be somewhere where that we would actually move. And it was that insurance that in case we wanted to, in case we needed to move, it was always something that was going to be in the background. And so we did our Golden Visa application in 2018. And the more we came, the more we fell in love with the country, the more opportunities we saw to be able to set up businesses. And we saw the opportunity to set up EQTY Capital. And hence in August 2020, the middle of COVID, we decided to move here. We don't know if we were crazy or brave, but we came over and set up EQTY Capital, initially around the Golden Visa funds, and we're an advisor on the funds. And the first fund that we set up and structured was approved on the 31st of December 2020. So we launched the fund officially in the April that year, and I'll take you through a bit of the track record, but we've been very happy. We're a perfect example of how it works. We moved here, we were able to set up a business, our children have gone to school here, we've got access to free healthcare, a wonderful lifestyle, and easy access through the Schengen region. And we have submitted our application for citizenship. So fingers crossed we'll be one of those that gets it too. So, but onto EQTY Capital and who we are as a business. So EQTY, as I said, was a company that started in 2020. And we are primarily built on the premise of creating meaningful value in places that you live, work, and play. We invest in property, technology, and operations, and that have a positive and lasting impact on people's lives. And as a result, we've built a strong track record over the past few years in 3 core verticals. The first one being projects, properties, and then ventures. We have since 2021, successfully closed 6 Golden Visa eligible funds, raising over 120 million with over 400 investors. We're involved in the development of mixed-use projects and properties with a value of over 500 million across Portugal in key locations like Ericeira, Melides, Setúbal. We've also been involved in acquiring just under 100 properties across 23 developments across Portugal. And we have co-invested across several opportunities in the US and Europe with a leading sovereign wealth fund, including a large globally diversified portfolio, which I will take you through in shortly as well. So across the funds and in everything that we do, what has been the key to our success, and I think what has resonated with everybody, is our approach has always remained the same. It's about diversified, multi-sector investments that are designed to balance opportunity with long-term growth. We have, every fund of ours has always been around full diversification, whether it's in sectors, geographic diversification, as well as asset types. So spreading the risk, spreading the opportunities, and really creating a solid investment and asset portfolio for investors to invest in. And we have recently, as I said, launched our 7th fund, which is the Global Growth 2 Fund, which I will take you through. But before I go into that, I just wanted to give you a bit of background about our team and who we are, because we believe that we can't do anything on our own, and it's about partnerships and really having strong partnerships and team behind us. We have a very successful team that have all brought or are bringing different strengths and experiences and expertise to the company. We have seasoned entrepreneurs, real estate investment, technology and hospitality specialists, and we also have investment bankers and VC specialists. So to start off with, Garth, full disclosure, he's my husband. So Garth was the person that identified the opportunity to set up EQTY Capital and the opportunity to set up these diversified funds that created a portfolio of assets. Garth's background and experience is in investments and property development and construction. He's worked in Dubai for over 25 years and it's developing mixed-use, very big scale, multi-use projects across the region. He was involved with Mubadala, which is the second largest sovereign wealth fund in Abu Dhabi, and also responsible for the development of some of their key hospitality projects, including the Four Seasons, the Rosewood hotels. So a lot of experience across that field. Myself, my background is banking. So I was in banking for over 25 years before giving it up to start EQTY. I was in Dubai for over 15 years, and my last job before we moved to Portugal, I was the executive director of governance for Africa and the Middle East for Standard Chartered Bank, which is a multinational bank. And in that, I was responsible for working with a lot of the countries and the CEOs to ensure that their processes and policies were implemented. So I bring to the party the governance and the compliance side of things. Before that, I was involved with setting up a mortgage finance business, and I was also the chief of staff of Barclays Bank. We also have a really strong team of other shareholders behind us. We have the Moreno brothers, who are French serial entrepreneurs. They are involved. They're one of the largest developers in Portugal. Brent was set up one of the largest digital marketing companies in Africa. He was the youngest CEO to list on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and he's currently the CEO of a VC company that's based in South Africa and the UK. Dimitri and Elp both worked do work in Dubai. Dimitri sold his company to Emirates Airlines, and he is part of the Dubai YPO chapter. And Elp worked for the executive office in Dubai, and now he's involved in rolling out data centers across Europe. We also have some strategic advisors who have joined the team. Rex, who was the CEO of a FTSE 100 company. He is also a serial entrepreneur and is currently the chair of the Edinburgh Napier University in Scotland. We have Adrian, who is ex-BlackRock. He's the co-founder of an very, very successful asset management company and investment management company in Abu Dhabi. And we have Diraj, who was a co-founder of Shazam, and he is one of the early investors into AI, OpenAI. He's also a co-investor with Bill Gates and Al Gore, and he's also actually an existing investor of one of the equity funds. He's someone that has valued what we do as a business, and has valued our transparency and our connection with investors. And this new fund, we welcomed him to be part of it because of the technology and the VC and the private equity components to it. Meta is a PropTech specialist who works across the UK, the US, and the Middle East. So moving on to the fund, and to give you a bit of background about the new fund that we launched earlier this year. It is called the EQTY Global Growth 2 Fund. And just to reiterate or to reinforce, EQTY is a fund advisor, and it works a bit differently in Portugal as compared to a lot of the other jurisdictions, where typically you would have the fund manager and the fund administrator. In those jurisdictions, EQTY would be the fund manager, where we're responsible for the capital raise, for the investment strategy of the fund, for identifying the investment targets and the investments to deploy the capital into. And then you would have the fund administrators who manage the fund from an operations perspective. Whereas here, the fund manager, who's the regulated entity, is STAG. And they are someone who we've been working with for many years. We already have 2 other funds with STAG, and the reason why we chose STAG for this fund is that the CIO has got a lot of experience in private equity and VC, and that it made sense to continue with them for this particular fund. So the EQTY Global Growth 2 Fund is a highly diversified investment portfolio across sectors, investment stages, and geographies, and follows the same premise as all our other funds. As well as with our other funds, and as Paloma mentioned earlier in her presentation, you can invest up to 40% of the portfolio outside of Portugal. And we have maximized on that opportunity to diversify the portfolio even further and to spread the risk even further. So up to 40% of the investments are allocated from this fund internationally to mitigate that risk, and while strengthening and diversifying the portfolio even further. The dual approach of having a global diversification will position investors to capture, first of all, Portugal's high growth, service-driven and tech-enabled economy, and balancing that risk with stable global private market exposure in developed markets. So through everything that we do, we believe in the power of partnerships, and we partner with leading institutions and companies, and we're targeting high impact off-market opportunities that deliver capital appreciation as well as yielding returns. In terms of the fund, to give you a quick summary, it's a 30 million fund. It's a closed-ended fund, which is a 7-year fund with an opportunity to extend if need be. That's being said, there's no mandatory requirement to extend, and that is a decision that is taken at the end of the term or closer to the end of the term by investors who would like to stay. They can stay, and those who would like to exit can exit. So very flexible at the end of the term. The returns policy is capital growth and dividends, and the target returns are in excess of 8% IRR. We believe that this is conservative, but we would rather under promise and over deliver, and we do believe that we can achieve those results. The fee structure is the same as all our other funds. It's a 1.5% management fee, that an annual fee that comes from the fund, so no direct cost to the investors. There is a one-off 1.5% subscription fee at the beginning of once you subscribe, and that is the only additional cost to the investors. The incentive structure is a 80-20 with a 5% hurdle rate to Class A investors, who will be those that are investing into the fund. After the 5% with a catch-up, then there is an 80% profit share to Class A investors and 20% to the fund advisor and the fund manager. So The minimum participation in this fund is 150,000, but obviously for Golden Visa purposes, it's 500,000 that you would invest. And investing into funds, there's a very tax efficient opportunity because as non-residents, it's 0% tax on income. For those that are not actually living in Portugal. Us, unfortunately, living here, there is a 10% tax, but that's still pretty low compared to other investment vehicles. So in terms of the fund itself, there's three core sectors that it will be investing into. And because EQTY's background and experience has been around in real estate, the investment strategy was specifically developed or intentionally developed to focus on high growth sectors that play to our strengths and our expertise while remaining eligible for the Golden Visa applicants. And so we have chosen very clear sectors for a number of reasons. So the three core sectors, firstly, it's co-investment with the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And that is we already have that partnership with the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And I will take you through some more details about that shortly. But it has proven to be very successful with our existing funds, and we will continue with that relationship with this fund. We're also going to be focusing on PropTech ventures, and for PropTech, it's about providing technology value to the built environment through various efficiencies in design, supply chain, construction, and operations of real estate, including energy. And we do see there's a lot of opportunity for that both in Portugal and internationally. And finally, serviced operations. So what we have here is, if we go into the specifics, with regards to the international ventures, we will be partnering with Mubadala, which is the second largest sovereign wealth fund in the world. So a really strong track record there, and someone who we've been working with already for the last 5 years with our existing funds. For this specific fund, the fund will be investing into a fund called the Portugal Capital Alternative Solutions Fund, MCAS, and it is a 4.3 billion evergreen fund that is focused on global private markets, and it leverages off the significant access and track record of Mubadala, and it really does give us access to opportunities that we wouldn't normally get access to as a little company here in Portugal. It is a mature stage fund with highly diversified portfolio, including over 700 underlying companies. So it really is as if you're investing into the S&P 500. So giving you that global diversity and although with a stability with low volatility. It offers, as I said, the low volatility. It also offers meaningful downside protection, and the current yields are plus 5% per annum. With quarterly liquidity after a 4-year lockup. And you can see here that the track record so far, even in the volatile markets that we're facing at the moment, the fund really has been performing solidly quarter on quarter. So we really do believe that this is something that can add a lot of value to the fund. The investment is made through a Freedom Luxembourg structure, which provides access to the portfolio. So the fund is actually based in Luxembourg. Secondly, we'll be focusing on PropTech ventures. And the reason we've chosen PropTech ventures is because it is experiencing a very high or rapid growth in Portugal as well as across Europe as a result of increased regulations and the cost of resources, and making way for innovation and efficiencies across the entire real estate life cycle. The investment strategy will be diversification through a fund type of model, and we'll be partnering with top-tier PropTech companies, two specifically called Noah and Pi Labs. They're both based in the UK, and they are really giving an opportunity to off-market and early investment access to high-potential scale-ups. It also gives us the opportunity to assess the performance of these companies, and then to be able to do further co-investments directly into those companies if need be. None of the investments we do are really early stage. It's all later stage investments, which is a lower risk investment. For that reason, we really are more of a moderate risk investment play in everything that we do. And as I said, we'll be partnering with NOAA and Pi Labs potentially, as well as identifying opportunities within Portugal itself. And as you can see from these images, it really is about investing in all stages of the built world environment, from design to construction to operations and disassembly. And Pi Labs, who has a partnership with Oxford University, where they share resources as well as research, they invest into a number of underlying prop tech companies through, whether it's sustainable construction, efficient buildings, the future of work and retail. So very exciting and dynamic space to be playing in. To give you an example, Airbnb is actually prop tech, and so is Rightmove. So these are very dynamic platforms that are potential opportunities as part of this fund. Finally, the third component that the fund will be investing into is serviced operations. And the reason we've chosen this is to play to our strengths and our experience, but also because tourism and hospitality are one of Portugal's strongest growth engines and is supported by consistent international demand. We will be focusing specifically on operating models around senior living, wellness resorts, flex living, and co-working. All these sectors are aligned with a clear shift in the global behaviors towards community, lifestyle-driven living and working. So the traditional hotels are no longer the way in the industry has moved beyond traditional hotels, and it really is moving towards community style living, especially since COVID, where people are looking for communities where they can literally live, work, and play in one place. And similarly, since COVID, a lot of businesses are trying to attract people back to the office and trying to create flexible services and operations within these workspaces as well. So the investment strategy here is really to invest purely into the operating companies across these high growth sectors, and sectors such as senior living really are in high demand here. A lot of people are moving to Portugal to retire, and what you currently have in Portugal is you've got limited availability of the type of the offerings that we are looking at. You have at the moment really more end of life kind of very highly regulated services. But in terms of lifestyle destinations, there is a huge opportunity for growth with people looking to retire here, and as Jonathan had in his presentation, a lot of people moving here just to live, whether it is ultimately where they see themselves growing old and living long term with their families, us being one of them. So the investment strategy there is to invest into operating companies across the high growth sectors. And it's a combination of debt and equity agreements, securing preferred income for yields and upside capital growth into these entities. To be very clear, we will only be investing into the opcos. There won't be any investment into propcos. Some companies are playing in the grey where there's an opco-propco structure, and we won't even touch that, because for us it's really important that whatever we do, does not compromise any of the Golden Visa eligibility rules. And in terms of the operational model, as I said, we'll be entering into these long-term agreements and typically investing into things that the banks won't necessarily finance, such as the fit-outs, the furniture, and the initial operating costs of these companies, and really looking at shared type platforms that have an opportunity to spread across different areas and be able to service all the different sectors that we have mentioned here. In terms of the term sheet, I think I've gone through this briefly earlier, and so I won't go through it in too much detail, but it really goes into a bit more around the different incentive and the preferred return structure. So it's a 5% preferred return to investors of Class A. It's over 8% IRRs, and the profit share 80% to Class A unit holders, 18% to Class B unit holders, and 2% to the management company. And something that I would like to mention, which I think is something that is important or could add a lot of value to people, is that this fund also offers a global custody account and solution. So what that means is that investors are able to invest directly into the fund from offshore. They do not need to set up a local Portuguese bank account. So for those who are looking for speed of investment or want to do things quickly, it's a seamless process. It's one KYC for opening the bank account or the custodian account, as well as the doing the KYC and onboarding into the fund. So that is hugely beneficial. Not to say or detract from the importance of having a Portuguese bank account. I think it is important once you've done your application to set up your own Portuguese bank account to demonstrate intent of being in the country, but that you can then do in your own time at your own pace, because it can be very tedious and it can take very long in terms of some of the banking setup and the banking structures across Portugal. So that is something that's really beneficial to potential investors who want to see this process of onboarding. The custodian bank is Millennium, which is one of the largest banks in Portugal, and it's got it's a very reputable bank. And we also have, as I mentioned, Stag, who's the fund manager, and the auditors are BDO. So a very strong team that's behind the fund. So ultimately, as I mentioned, that you will really get a full diversified fund across sectors, across geographies, and across companies. So really spreading that risk and creating a real a strong portfolio of assets. And ultimately, this is what the fund will look like. In terms of the process, I think, as I mentioned, EQTY is the fund advisor, Stag is the fund manager, and Millennium's the custodian bank. And I think what is important here is our investment strategy, which is around targeting low to moderate risk adjusted returns, a focus on capital preservation. You know, everyone who is interested in this process is doing it ultimately for the Golden Visa, but at the same time, you want to make sure that your money is being put into a solid investment and that you're not going to lose money along the way. I think I've spoken quite a lot about the diversification and the financial efficiencies, as well as the partnerships, because for us, it's really important about dealing with trusted network and value-added partnerships and best in class in everything that we do. Stag is the fund manager and Millennium. And then finally, what I wanted to take you through was the investment process. So there's a 3 check stages of process where any investment is firstly assessed by the equity advisory team. And depending on the nature of the investment, we then pull in the specialist advisor, whether it's private equity or tech or prop tech or hospitality. And once we are of the view that the investment is something that is worth presenting to the investment committee, we then present it to the investment committee, which is made up of both Stag and EQTY. And finally, you have the custodian bank who does a final check where they will make sure that all the investments are in line with the management regulations, so that and it's all subject to external audit. So you will always make sure that things are being invested the way they should be invested. Conscious of time, so I don't want to take up too much time, but I think Paloma knows that we really do work very closely with investors to onboard them. We work very closely with the introducers such as Paloma and the wonderful Maven team to ensure that there aren't any bottlenecks along the way. And we work with the fund manager to ensure that everything goes smoothly and that the onboarding is seamless. But most importantly is our reporting and our engagement with the investors post-investment. So we don't just leave you once you've invested into the fund. We also have a portal that you can get access to that will give a detailed overview of the investments that are being made and how the money is being allocated. So, for example, one of our existing funds, which is primarily real estate, you can see here that it shows you all the different assets that have been invested into. If you click on an image, It gives you details about the property, about the layouts, the valuation of the property. So a lot of transparency in the process. We also conduct webinars twice a year. Firstly, one in April, which is at the end of to present the full year results, and that one typically the fund manager does an AGM, which is very much a tick box exercise, but we go into a lot more detail about each of the assets, the performance of those assets. And then a second one to present the half year results as well. And they really are well received by investors, and they find it a huge value add. For our recent webinars that we had over 100 investors joining those webinars. So they really do see value in that. And that really brings me to the end of the presentation. So thank you for the opportunity and the time.
Thank you, Tracey. So we will begin our Q&A portion. I'm going to really quickly allow our attorney, Catalina. Let's see if it's going to come in. And so there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. It should allow you guys to ask any questions into there, or you can ask it into the chat. I will begin with a question for Tracey about, so what currently is the fund's exit strategy?
Thanks, Paloma. So in terms of the exit strategy, we have very clearly thought through the different the different sectors of the fund. And firstly, the fund is a 7-year fund, and it is aligned to the Golden Visa timelines. And because of that, we have looked at allocating across investments that allow for a multi-exit opportunities and multi-stage exits across the term of the fund. So for serviced operations, we have predetermined exit dates that are based on each of the investments. And for PropTech and for the local funds, it will be staggered de-investments or disinvestments over a period of several years. For the Mubadala and the Sovereign Wealth Fund, it also allows for liquidation after a 4-year lockup. So easy to start exiting those immediately. And we've already actually made our first investment into the Mubadala Fund. So the clock has started ticking for that one as well. So it really is about ensuring that there's predetermined exit strategies for each of those investments.
And since this is a fund that is essentially built around Golden Visa, what is it that EQTY does to make this better for Golden Visa clients in terms of not only timeline, but communication and also maximizing return? Like you said, it's not just Golden Visa, also capital preservation.
Yeah, so the fund was specifically designed the term to align with the Golden Visa timelines, and building in some contingency in that as well, because obviously the investment for Golden Visa has to be held for 5 years, and after that, even if you apply for permanent residency, you don't have to hold the investment for permanent residency. So you can exit the fund at the end of the term, and then once you've applied or once you've been converted to permanent residency. We were also open to options to extend the fund if there are individuals that need to extend for their Golden Visa for their requirements. There is a process where towards the end of the fund, there'll be a special general meeting held, and investors will have to vote, where those who would like to exit the fund, you vote to exit, and those who would like to extend will vote to extend. And those who voted to exit can exit, and those who voted to extend can extend. So we really do, we'll monitor the environment and the situation closer to the time to understand how that works. We're also monitoring the Golden Visa state, the whole political process and the Golden Visa process closely. We are very connected to the top immigration lawyers throughout Portugal. We've got a great relationship with everyone. So really try and be on the pulse to see how things are evolving and changing all the time. And we try and keep our investors informed with newsletters. We send out quarterly newsletters to give updates on everything. We're also very vocal and very active on LinkedIn. So try and keep him all up to date on that as well.
Thank you. And a question for our attorney, Dr. Catarina. For Golden Visa, do people need to renew, and what does the renewal process look like for Golden Visa applicants?
Well, the renewal, it's a 5-year program, as Tracey was previously mentioning. So first of all, you have the first stage, which will be the grant. Normally it's granted for 1 year. Then you have to renew for the next 2 years. And then you have the last renewal for another 2 years. Renewals, thankfully, have been occurring in a swifter manner compared to the initial grant of the authorization of residency via investment. And so it should be a more swifter process than the initial process of the grant of the authorization of residency via investment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One more question for Tracey. Can you tell me a little bit just about EQTY's track record and success that they've had with past Golden Visa funds?
So as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, we have 6 Golden Visa eligible funds that we have already closed. All of them are performing really well at the moment. So fortunately, that the performance of those have been something that has been something well received. And we have a great team behind us. We have great partners that we work with. So a lot of experience behind us, and a lot of people that have been involved in the process. So we're very familiar with how to structure Golden Visa funds and what works and what doesn't work. And so over 120 million that we've raised so far for those funds. So a good track record in terms of that.
Right. So if there are no further questions from the attendees, we will just leave it there. Of course, everyone will get a recording and a summary of what we were discussing today. I will also include a link if you want to schedule a one-on-one meeting with me to discuss investment opportunities in Portugal, discuss the first steps for getting your Golden Visa, for preparing your application, and you will be able to talk with me or with our attorney Catarina, and everything will get sent to you guys tomorrow. So any further questions? All right, I think it's all good. Thank you everyone for participating. It was really nice seeing you all.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You,
there's one question. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a lovely day and evening.
Have a lovely evening, everyone.